Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the VCT Challengers. It's week one for North America here, and we are very quickly working our way through the bracket between our main stream here and the secondary stream as well. We've got a great course of series to get you guys through today. We're in the midst of Envy taking on their opponent here. Envy with some great results on the first map, but unfortunately dropping the second one to V1, a reverse, map win streak here for both teams as Envy took V1's map pick, V1 just took Envy's pick. And now this takes us to Ascent, our third and final map of the series. And Stokes, what exactly are we going to be looking at here on this map?
Oh, when it comes to Ascent, John, I mean, it's so back and forth at this moment. It could really break either way. It really depends right now on what version of Envy we get. Version 1, firing on all cylinders, Penny's back a light, Vanity making some huge plays, and this time it's not with the Bucky. I mean, there's so many things going right for this squad right now. It's going to be difficult to shut them down, but the good news for Envy is this is a full mental reset. They don't have to worry about this massive lead that version 1 was built. No more preposterous stuff to try and battle back from. It's a clean slate. 0-0. They just need to win Icebox to get out of this.
Much different overall layout coming in here as well for this map as we take a look at things and how overall this is going to play. We take a look at the stats between these two teams as well here and see how exactly things have been panning out here. Once again, complete flip from what we had in the previous matchup there, as obviously everything was under the control of Envy for map number 1. A bit different here for map number 2. Version 1 controlling pretty much the entire situation, and this time by a decisive margin, as Stokes was just mentioning there. 0 objective wins for Envy over the course of the entire map. A nearly 3,000 damage lead, in fact, over 3,000 damage lead, I believe, for version 1 there, as well as like headshot percentage, even being at a slight edge there too. But V1 really dominating that last map, putting Envy into an awkward spot. That's going to be accentuated even more here as we take a look at these stats. I mean, just take a peek here at the KDs. 0.7, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 1, and then 3.6, 2.8, 2.4, 2.9, and 2.1. The best on the losing team doesn't even come close to the worst on the winning team.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh. And a little birdie told me a little while ago about this game as well, as when it comes to combat scores and how they're calculated, that can tell you exactly how a game went. And I can tell you simply by FNS having a 198, that is just such a poor game from Envy overall. I mean, a 198 is like, yeah, you kind of did stuff, right? Like 200, 250, you're like, oh yeah, I had a decent game. Anything up from above there is just, the sky's the limit. But to truly show you how poor that round was for them, a 198 for them, for their MVP of that map, oh, that's always going to be really difficult. So I guarantee you they're very thankful that that was not the last map. They actually have an opportunity to have that reset and get back into this.
Yeah, we're going to need to see the clutch potential come out from a couple of the players that really, in my opinion, went missing in the previous matchup. But talking about the maps a little bit more now, we've got our third map getting lined up for us here, and we can take a look at the selections themselves and how exactly we managed to get to this point overall in the series. Map 1 already being played out on Haven. Envy taking control of that one, 13-9, despite the fact that it was V1's pick. V1 obviously not very happy about that as they came back with a booming amount of success on Split, able to take that one with a much lessened round count for Envy, tying us up at 1-1 and leading us to the final map in the pool, which is going to be Ascent here. Envy will also be getting the start this time on defense, so another good opportunity for them to make their mark early in the match and potentially be in a better position. Let's get into the agent select here as well now and take a look at exactly what the picks are going to be for these two teams.
Well, some exciting stuff, and it all starts here. Last map of the day for you and I, and for everybody at home on this stream, well, at least listening to us, are going to have some series go on later today, so make sure you guys are attentive towards that. But let's hop in here and see what these lineups are going to look like. So far for the defenders of Envy, starting out on Ascent, we have Mame back on the Astra. Really enjoyed this pick previously on Haven. It had a really good effect, but not nearly the effect we saw him have previously, but that's always going to be hard to try and replicate. I mean, 16-0 is not something that you are always going to do. But on Ascent, I feel like Mame in this role is going to be extremely pivotal.
Meanwhile, Phoenix seems to be the way to go with regards to Ascent entry right now. Both Zelsis and Victor going down that route for this third map in the series. The same exact selection was made by our previous two teams as well, so things in general seem to be trending in that direction for Ascent picks as of this point. Penny sticking with the Jet, Vanity, a lot of that staying the same here, but as Stokes mentioned, we've got that Astra back in play. This is probably one of the most effective maps for her based on the play I've already been able to see out of the open bracket last week, so V1 got to be a little bit nervous about some of the things that may be able to come out. A lot of very long hallways and choke points that those star abilities can find a lot of use from on the inside of this map. So V1 will certainly have to be careful on that regard. At the same time, though, they're bringing a lot of that aggressive entry power between both the flashes on the Phoenix as well as the separation capability that Penny will still bring constantly, walking in this Jet, as we've already seen from the previous two maps.
The biggest thing standing out to me here for the agents is the lack of Sage on both sides. She's a mainstay when it comes to Ascent. Not as much as I'd say as something like Icebox, but definitely something noteworthy. And as soon as we get onto that, folks, the round's already begun. Version 1 is currently sitting at the door of A.
Seems like Killjoy is the way to go, at least with regards to this map, for your primary Sentinel anyway. And then you kind of have that secondary choice of a Sage. Already moving on to the site, Envy perfectly fine to play for a retake here because they really don't have a choice. Any attempt to contest that take would have more than likely led to an overwhelming number of players firing on one of their players, if that. So here we go. Now they're going to start booming back in through the door, coming in through Tree here. Trade so far favoring Envy. In fact, we've got a boombot kill on to Penny right there. FNS, Victor, and Crashies all cleaning it up for Envy, as nearly everybody gets a frag here on the way back in. A solid retake for Envy to solidify the first round for them.
I mean, you could not script this best of 3 better. Envy gets stomped all over on Split. We come to Ascent and they immediately get back to form. Envy very aggressive in the face of version 1. Just what a way to steamroll over that entire site. I was going to say fantastic trades, but that's not even what happened. Envy just simply walked back onto A, killed everybody, and defused the spike. Some great stuff there for them rolling into this next round.
Like I said, teams are confident nowadays with their capability to retake, and definitely going to be the case on pistols as well there. So folks on V1 thought they had control, but certainly not. Envy comes absolutely storming back in, specifically from Tree, in order to make that happen. Now, light investment for the most part here coming in for V1 on the second round. We do have the single Bucky buy for Vanity, as well as a couple Sheriff upgrades too, but those are minor side notes. Definitely didn't buy out anyone's bank. Different, however, for Envy, as Crashes will make a slight mistake here off of his Shock Dart, taking away about half of his shields and only a couple HP there. He just has to kind of awkwardly back away from that one now. Nothing major lost.
One would say a shocking mistake. I'm sorry, I'll apologize right now. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Boo! Boo the bad commentator. Why are you booing? I'm right. I'm right. But not right now, or at least Zelsus isn't, as he gets taken down inside of mid, and he's going to be the only one there. Envy making it matter when it matters most. Taking full control of this second round, but now Victor in some trouble. Shock Dart out. Effie's actually going to get the frag because of that, as they're starting to work their way through Tree, but Crashies just too quick to the trigger. The flank out, as well as Mummy with one for his troubles. Wraps that up with a nice bow as we get to the gun round.
Envy are angry about the loss from before, and they want to shut this one down nice and quick. Already thinking to themselves, they probably should have been able to shut this one down on map 2. So now we'll get to see how their first bonus engagement goes, as they're still, for the most part, going to have Spectres going into this round. Caboose and Crashies trying to figure out exactly how they want to play their buys, as obviously they don't want to buy down too much to the point where they can't rebuy in the round after this should they lose. But at the same time, they do want to be able to fight against the full investment currently coming in from V1. So that does mean Caboose is going to end up fully buying for himself. Everybody else should be in relatively good trades to repurchase on the round after. So, man, we're going to jump right into the action this time. Caboose with a double as he aggressively swings into mid. V1 try to play for pressure in that position, but fail outright. Victor does get dropped, but thankfully the support was there from the other players in mid, and Envy comes out as the winner in that trade.
This is looking less like Ascent and more like an octagon as these guys continue to battle inside of this cage. Incredible stuff happening from both ends, but that right there, a highlight play for Caboose, and he's going to be talking about that one for a little bit, but that doesn't mean that the round's over just yet. There's still work to be done, as there's still 3 version 1 members lurking around. Currently just biting for mid control, trying to see where they can possibly get this spike to go, and this is the problematic thing. They really don't have any forward momentum for them right now. The Owl Drone's gone from Effie's. He does have his recon bolt back, but he really wants to try and use that for sight. Clearing out these areas is going to be extremely difficult, especially with no flashes. This is going to be a lot of dry peeking and hoping these gunfights go their way.
Player 1 leading the charge, but they have to check towards the heaven steps here. Caboose ready for the challenge. The assist coming in from the other site as well. It's a shutdown from Envy as version 1 aren't able to get anything going for themselves on the lurk, whether it's through mid or B main. It fails outright, and Envy get an incredibly solid first round here. Or I should say third round now, first gun round for themselves.
Yeah, first round that has a lot of firepower in it. We'll just put it that way. The pistol round's quite important, sets the pace. That second round always going to be difficult. Third one is where everyone's going to try and murder each other. So
Not even really the first gun round from NV2. That was the bonus, keep in mind. So
Yes.
still on a relatively light investment compared to what V1 brought to the table here. And they're still rolling with it for a few of their players. I'm pretty sure one of them still had a Spectre. Yep, Mummy still working with that at this point. So Envy just cashing in on all of these rounds that they can pick up, and of course, all the times they are able to keep themselves alive on a round-to-round basis here. But V1 on a bit of an eco here, and it's the Bucky buy, and they're going to work their way in relatively quickly behind that. Crashy's already trying to shut this one down, but Penny forward on the site. The run it back does go down, but not before Victor's able to get 2 for himself upon losing that ultimate. Boost try to play into this one as Penny sits the last player alive. Boost will be able to manage that relatively quickly, and once again, Envy control the round, picking up a 4th.
Yeah, I think the jig is up when it comes to Ascent right now for version 1. Their play style is really, really potent when it came to Split, and I feel like that's simply just because of how congested that map is on its angles. Very close, not a lot of long areas to work around, but when they try to be forceful here, especially in that last round with the Buckies, Envy just simply opt to go for the long angles instead. We saw the Envy player over towards Tree Door, and immediately as version 1 flies in with the Jet Tailwind, he just leaves. He doesn't want anything to do with that. He knows exactly what they're going to attempt to do, instead going back to play with his team and win the round.
Version 1, a cautious hold here at the beginning of the round. They know Envy's ahead, and that more than likely would mean that they try to play slightly aggressively against their opponents, since they can afford to throw a couple things away if they go wrong. Not going to be risking that, though. Envy actually with a very concerted hold, specifically at B. Not so much the case over towards A, where we do have a little bit of aggressive posturing. We are going to see the Gravity Well followed up by the usage of the Showstopper there, but won't lead to much, unfortunately. It didn't catch anyone, so that Showstopper is wasted for the most part. Caboose and the rest of Envy, though, are firing off on all cylinders, so probably not too much of a too much spilled milk over that one there. Caboose is going to be able to get that back relatively quickly, and V1 in the meantime, not really doing much here in the early round, trying to play this very cautiously, very quietly, more importantly, where they try to play their way into the site, which definitely seems to be leaning towards an A take. Envy very patiently waiting for this push to come in, though, at all angles. They are ready to stop this with 3 players on the site already, moving their Killjoy as well as their other V player back into position to quickly rotate to this one as well. Effie's already going for the Hunter's Fury, trying to scramble the positions of the players in tree. It works to some extent, but still only a 1-for-1. They're out on the site, though. Penny going for the plant. It should go down without conflict here. Also has the Blade Storm ready to go if he wants to use it.
A little scary there for just a second, but Penny does realize the spike's in his control. Plants it right at the base of Rafters. It's a good setup right now for version 1. They have great control of A main as well as the lobby with Omen supporting the Sova. This is some fantastic stuff. Going to be difficult for Envy to try and work this one out. As 2 flame walls go down, the site assault comes through. We'll see if they can come out on top. Effie's with the first blow. Can he get the second? It's actually Victor with the refrag, but do they understand the positioning of these last handful of members? Victor able to stay alive, but finally refragged by Vanity, and that's going to be a fantastic round from version 1. Their first one, and a desperately needed one at that.
Much more solid take overall onto that A site for them. Waited out the time a lot more and were able to find an insertion point where, for the most part, Envy couldn't really do anything to stop them because they had been so heavily focused on the take that was concerned over towards Cat and Tree. Like, they had 2 or 3 different players hyper-focused on that. That took the attention away from the Rafters position on the A site, as well as the players that were trying to watch Tree from deeper in A. Opened up a massive hole in May main that the players on version 1 were able to execute through. And unfortunately, V1, because of the, or Envy, I should say, because of the well-weighted utility usage from V1, you know, timing out the blaze as well as their other sorts of smokes to try and block out their opponents, Envy never really able to steal any sneaky kills out of V1's hands there and just made it a very tough retake. Victor, as we get into the next round here, gets a very, very nice kill at the very end of his run it back as well. Able to find out Effie's hiding in that corner, taking him down, and the repeat from B-Main again gets him a second pick against player 1. You cannot ask for worse luck here on V1's side right now.
You just can't make it up, man. You can't make it up. Victor is just better right now. You can even see he was just shaking it off. He was shaking it off. There's just too much sauce going on. You know, somebody needed a mop for the amount of drip.
He's like, that's not supposed to happen.
Hey guys, I just did something that was not allowed. All right, I'm gonna have to go over here now. But V1 with a change here. They're going to go for the plant on A once again after some abnormalities happen inside of B main. But the plant's still going to be good, and that's the big thing. They need this money going into these further rounds, but they'd much rather have the round win. That's what actually matters, and that's why we see them being so aggressive towards Raptors right now. But none of that going to work out. Very low HP on Penny as well, so that'll be difficult. A beautiful one-way, and Celsius with 3. Hot hands down, but that's not even needed either. Penny wraps up the other kill, and Envy, oh no, the money is starting to run out.
A one-way setup there. I'm not sure if that was, I'm pretty sure that was thrown out by Vanity, but either way, beautifully played out and beautifully done by Zelsis to just absolutely abuse that against Envy. Was looking like they would have had everything they needed to retake that, but look at this, and indeed, that smoke does come from Vanity, as it allows Zelsis to completely shut down that entire retake attempt from Tree. Beautifully done, beautifully played. Not going to be able to make that happen again, more than likely, as they'll absolutely be checking that spot from now on. But either way, the play works where it needs to here. It takes us into the next round. Envy, specifically Mame, trying to cause some problems here. You see the gravity well go off right by the A-side spawn for V1. And messes them up a little bit, but overall, just going to see that star go off without too much damage being done to the team.
All right, well, version 1 opting for A yet again, and it seems as though this is going to be all A or no play type of thing. Everyone is currently stacked up here. Telly into the back for information. Good plays for Gen, but FNS able to shut it down. Hops inside of the Nano Storm, takes some damage, but claims player 1 instead. Zelsis works in on the back end along with Penny. They've got Hell Control and a run it back, all for your needs. Some nice curveballs out, but nothing going to blind up too many people. They're going to play it back as well. Zelsis is only going to deal some damage before that run it back finally goes away. Spike down, and version 1 into post plant.
Crash has been holding on to this ult for a couple of rounds now. The Hunter's Fury going in, able to lock down the frag onto Penny and deal good damage to at least one other player as well. That's Zelsis down at 47. No hot hands, so he can't heal himself back up, and no Blaze either. Envy are making serious progress in the retake, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop Vanity. The only one standing in the way of it. He's got a Nebula in his way now, too. Doesn't have great info. Trying to just go off of the pinged info from teammates, but it won't work out. Caboose shuts him down. Victor gets the defuse. Envy get the round, as well as the lead along with it. V1, a momentary lapse where they could have taken control of this, but it's now faded, and Envy are controlling the situation yet again.
Yeah, they were starting to get to the end of Envy's money, where a couple of players were starting to get into that gray area, where if the round doesn't go their way, they're going to be on an eco, but if it does, then they're more than likely going to stay inside of those rifles, and that's exactly what happens here for Envy, able to get away with that and make version 1's situation even more difficult now. It looks, though, as though we're going to have a possible save here, unless Penny has a primary on him, but no, he's going to use the Blade Storm instead. We could have some pretty explosive plays come through with this upwind and updraft.
Lockdown coming in here as we're going to see an aggressive push from the V1 roster. However, it's going to get immediately countered out, so never mind on that one there. Rest of V1 still lined up at B main, ready to try and make a play, but it's Victor catching Penny, who had stuck all the way up. Victor even has the intel as well onto Vanity. Takes him down before he's going to be able to pop off that shrouded step, I believe. As a result of that, Envy looking strong, looking to be able to hold on to this one. The run it back used to swarm into the, well, swing, I should say, into the Nano Swarm. Try and find out about this peak. It holds them back for a couple of extra seconds. Another nice dart coming out here, too, from the Envy Sova there. Getting some great intel about the fact they're all still stacked here. 1-for-1 exchanges, but that's perfectly fine. Envy are okay with that. They're still ahead by a pretty massive margin here. And as long as FBs doesn't get another pickup for free, should be able to control this in the 1v2. It's a dangerous site to play it out from, especially if they have to split in the retake. FBs, are you going to play this is the question. Won't have himself the recon dart at any point during this, and both of the shock darts are gone, but does have the Hunter's Fury. However, not going to be very useful in a 1v2 environment, especially if his opponents are already close to him in areas like Hut. Still, Envy are playing this very cautiously. taking a lot of time to sneak up on the site, make sure he isn't trying to make any sort of aggressive move. The turret goes down to confirm he's not already in the open and discourage him from re-peeking into them. But again, the time, it's a problem for Envy. They don't have a whole lot to take down FDs with. Thankfully, the first strike is going to hit true. And with that, they should have just enough time to get the defuse going for themselves, as well as secure the 6th round. Let's be picked up by Victor here.
It's cool, calm, and collected for Envy right now. All of these situations handled with, no real sense of urgency. They're just making sure that they hit their marks, and that's all they're really attentive to at the moment. And you can't blame them. Version 1 not really able to combat them in any sense of the word. These 2 rounds that they've been able to find through pretty solid utility usage over on A, but the B hit's just not working out for them. And the problem with that is staying strictly to one site means that Envy will more than likely have some insight on that later on into these sides. So we'll see if they can possibly get some things going their way as we're back onto a semi-buy here with a lot of Buckies and some Sheriff to boot.
Definitely light investment overall from V1, and they've tried to make this buy once before, unfortunately to a pretty limited degree of success, just because they weren't able to close the gap on the actual execute here. Full rifles for Envy at the same time, so they really need to try and close the gap, because otherwise they're going to be going up against Phantoms, Vandals, and the whole lot of things that generally Buckies aren't going to be great at fighting against at long ranges here. FNS has the lineup. It's a jumble at Gen. 3 players from V1 going down. Victor makes it a 4th, and now only Vanity left in the engagement. He was holding the flank at A main here. Scanned out as well, so they know he's fallen back slightly. He's going to try to play to the corners, then hopefully he can pick up one with the Bucky, but just not finding the angles he needs. They know it's a Bucky now, so they're going to sit back. They won't contest this. They just want to take him down, obviously, and get this round over with. He's looking to capitalize on that. He's going to make this as painful as possible for Envy, but at this point, they're just waiting for him to cross, and there you go. Caboose shuts him down.
Hey, I mean, I love the play from Vanity. I mean, I got 40 seconds and a lot of bullets, so we might as well just keep shooting, right? Like, eventually I'll hit something. I really, really hope. But doesn't seem to work out for version 1 anyways. And that round wasn't necessarily supposed to be a round win. They really obviously wanted it to go their way, and those Buckies can make some magic happen, but just wasn't in the cards. And this time they'll actually have rifles to take it to Envy. Last time that we saw this, once again, that A push that worked out so very well for them. Fantastic utility usage across the entire board. Envy not really having an opportunity to get back into that one. Simply what it seemed like, just not having what they needed to actually work onto site. Some dry peaks coming in from tree and just getting punished, and now it's Envy all over again. 3Ks right off rip.
I mean, this is a gun round, too, from version 1. Envy couldn't have picked a better round to try and get this aggressive and be so successful in being as aggressive as they were here. Penny and Effie's, they're going to try to make up the difference. In fact, we're going to see Crashes get dinked there, but not enough to take him down. Only sent to 10 HP after that. Effie's the only player left in this. Good timing on the swing versus Victor. Gets a clean pick there, but immediately going to see the Nova Pulse. In fact, I think that's a Gravity Well, actually try to keep him in position here and slow him down overall as he tries his best to lurk out onto the A site. Not really a lurk, considering they already know he's here, but trying to keep it quiet, trying to look for these pre-fires. Any capability that he can find to get a frag here will move into his team's favor. Just like that, as Crashies peeks out into the open. Effie's going to try to move past this Nebula. Gets past it without too much of an issue, but there's the double swing from Envy to shut him down, stop the clutch, and solidify an 8th overall round for the Envy roster.
And Envy just not giving version 1 a single chance. They don't care if it's a rifle round. They don't care if it's a semi-buy, an eco. They don't care. They are not giving version 1 a single chance in trying to get out of this series in winning fashion. I mean, even down to this, the 1v4, we have a guy playing Gen. We have 2 inside of tree with the turret for the point of contact. I mean, come on, man. How are you supposed to get out of that situation if you are actually Effies? You know, like, that's just so difficult. But once again, we're going to have to go back to an eco round, or at least a semi-buy here for version 1. We'll have some Spectres along for the ride, but player 1 and Zelsis both on pistols.
Info already plenty for Envy here, and man, they are just thriving in the current state of this game at the moment here. Swinging into mid from 3 separate angles. They do not care about the plans from version 1 because they have their own, and it involves killing a lot of the members of the V1 roster. 9-2 is now the scoreline as we get ready to head into the final round of the first half.
I mean, business is killing, or at least Envy's business is killing, and apparently business is pretty good. That's what I'm saying. Like that, wow. We talked about it in the previous map when we were talking about Envy, and a scoreline very similar to this one, and the fact that the frags were just not coming through for them. But now take a look at the scoreboard, folks. Penny, 5 and 10, Zelsis 5 and 9, Player 1 and Vanity, both 3 and 11, 3 and 10. That is not score lines that are going to bode well for your squad when you're trying to work your way onto sites, especially from this offensive point. Granted, kills still do matter when you're on that defense, as Envy is making it clearly known, but oh man, is it difficult. He knows exactly where Zelsis is going to be. The run it back will get him out of the grenade, but can it save you from a showstopper? Seemingly not, as Envy take control early on once again.
Envy doing a great job of fending off any of the early aggressive tendencies that would have normally come out from V1 here. V1 have to respect Envy because they're getting so aggressive at the beginning of nearly every round. And even worse, they're successful in their aggression. Point right here with Cabooses' play, able to take down Vanity. Yes, he gets traded, but they're already in a massive advantage here. Slight mistake from Victor, as it looks like he swings while low ammo, tried to capitalize on the chaos there and take out his opponent with 1 to 2 bullets. Couldn't get the job done, but again, it's of little consequence. Crashies moves in there, finishes off the job. It's the last round anyway, so it's not like they have to worry about economy. And as a result of that, Envy gonna get a massive lead, switching to the attacking side at 10 to 2.
Okay, are you sure that they did not switch computers? Because this scoreline is just too canny for what we previously saw in the last map. And I mean, Blue, we watched version 1 play this map. It was not nearly this poor. It's just so difficult for them to try and get around Envy. These early engagements that they're showing to version 1 right now are just unparalleled in what they're able to pull off. I mean, we're not talking 1, 2 frags. We're talking 3 to 4 frags as an opening for Envy into the round. And that means you're going to have 2 to 1 person left on the other team with like 1 minute and 10 seconds left, just holding their head in their hands like, okay, now what do we do with this situation? Because we can't win it. It's going to be so difficult to try and win an engagement like that. But that was practically how the entire half went there for version 1. We saw one glimmer of hope, a glimpse of it, immediately went away. We're switching sides now as Envy is already on offense and currently set up to go for A, but Spike Control going to tell a different story, as that's actually on Raze, currently inside of attacker side spawn.
This is such an important round, needless to say, because it's pistol, but it's such an important round considering the scoreline here right now. If Envy take control of this one, they can, in theory, have gun advantage for every single round running straight up to 13 if they start themselves off well here. So this is going to be probably a very heavily focused pistol for them, where they want to come out on top of it, as it almost certainly assures a victory by closing this one out.
Oh, absolutely. And you can see how set they are right now as well. Just really taking their time, trying to find as much intel as possible. Owl drone out now for Crashies. He'll get a spot onto player 1, as well as some extra for his pleasure at the back of sight. He now knows that Killjoy and Sova are both on that B site, and you can see they know KJ's over here. They don't want to deal with her utility. So what do? They leave. They're going A.
A slow walk into A here, too. They're going to have to check for positions. Version 1 are being sneaky right now. Celsius, the timing couldn't be worse, but Penny at least catches the trade, keeps himself alive, and in fact gets a second, being able to take out Victor. Vanity as well with some great timing. They failed to close the door. That or it's already been destroyed. No, it's a late closure. We're going to see him try to work his way in. It's just too much pressure from V1. Too little time for Envy to play off of V1. They're not done yet, but they've got a long road to recovery, even behind that pistol.
Vanity getting away with the smoke plays again. He went silent here for a little while, but finally comes back in bold fashion to shut down Envy on this take, and it needed to happen here, claiming not only the spike player, but also assisting with FNS once he peeks out from main. Some great stuff for V1, not even on the retake, but just on the engagement there on A.
Game still very much on here, as Envy are going to be put into a full save round. Will not aggressively try to rebuy into the follow-up after the pistol. They're up by 7 rounds. They can completely afford to just take the L on this one and save up for the round afterwards. But at the same time, that does mean that V1 have free reign to play as aggressively as they would like to, and they're definitely going to like to. Moving out here, they've already got multiple picks here, and pretty much the round is over for the most part here. Crashy's finding 1 pick, and that's also going to be a gun going over into Crashy's hands. Free control, surprisingly, of the A site as well. They're going to be allowed to walk out. Could translate a plant, but player 1 already causing problems. Mid-door shut there. and crashes into an awkward spot. He won't be able to retrieve the spike and get the plant. Vanity works his way up the rafters and shuts him down before anything else can be done as V1 themselves a 4th on the board.
Well, obviously one that was more than likely going to go version 1's way, but still very strong round for them. Stacking properly, getting those early engagements like they need to shut down an eco round like Envy was attempting to pull off. But now it's time for the big boys to come out. Real guns to play with for Envy up against version 1's bonus round here, coming in with those extra Spectres and a couple of rifles as we're used to seeing.
Let's see here for Envy. Still very much in control of this matchup, and I doubt they're too worried about their current situation just as of yet. But they've got to get through not just this round, but the bonus, or excuse me, the rebuy from the bonus afterwards if they should successfully take down V1's current bonus on the inside of this round. Victor, some very early map control, already past the mid gates. Has himself the Nebula to try to work forward from 2, but there is going to be a response dark cover from V1's Omen to try and cover off that angle here. Zelsis wanted to try and play in the chaos, it seemed like, in between the smokes, but not too fond of that after further thought. He ends up backing up, grouping up with, well, unfortunately, over here by defender spawn, but at least holding a solid angle from that position slightly further back. Envy seem to be aware of this and are cautious themselves about their take here to avoid getting pinched out by setup from V1. Like that from Zelsis. Quick little hop up there. He is going to get spotted. Too much of an issue. Goes for the curveball. More importantly, prevents the refrag from coming out. We'll use the Blaze to self-heal as he blocks off the angle, working their way the inside of Market.
Well, timer now getting low for Envy to make something happen here. As of right now, it's looking to be the split play onto B through Market, and that's exactly what it's going to be. Utility starts to go down on site. Hot hands onto player 1. He's taking quite a bit of damage, but no kills just yet. Envy with a lot of control here, mostly focused on that defender side. Spawn, they'll get one with the nade, at least for Caboose, but he'll be thwarted in the process trying to get away with that C4 pack. They're not worried about Effies, though, and he'll get one on the back end. Caboose follows that kill up, though, with a triple now onto Penny. Vanity left alone here to try and secure this, but Crashy's already worried about what's going on near Market Stairs, cleans that one up, and Envy find it such an important round on their offense.
Reasserting control over the lead as well as the economy for the most part at this point in the half too. This is it. I mean, this is the big buy coming in from V1. They're going to spend all of their cash here. Only a reserve of 800 credits remaining after spending all of that. What's up?
Penny is just going Blade Storm, which means that this is about to be crazy. Because he has to do something here. He has to.
Get aggressive too.
Oh.
Walk in towards B main here. They're going to try and make a play towards it. Caboose seems to be aware of it. Sees the shoulder of player 1. Wasn't a fully convinced peek. That's a great follow-up on the curveball from Zelsis, but he sees just how many players are out here and decides, nah, this ain't worth it. I'm going back. Victor doesn't care, though. He's going to push right past it. Knows the Phoenix is still somewhere nearby behind the Blaze, and he's actually going to get chased away. Following him up. Another flash working its way out. The curveball blinds out. Zelsis takes him down. Vanity and Penny are all that's left. Penny trying to fight with the Blade Storm, but can only get one down onto the ground. Vanity, now the last hope here. 4v1 and FNS telegraphing the kill even as he does a little hop before swinging out there. Shuts it all down though, brings Envy up to 12. One more round is all they need to take this series.
Stick a fork in them, Blue. Stick a fork in them, because version 1 are done. That round right there was just insult to injury, and I totally understand why Victor rebranded from food. Went away from that, man. He's not the one eating. He's eating up. You see what I mean? This guy's just running into sight, killing everybody. No one can touch this man's greatness at the moment. We're just here witnessing what Envy are putting into the world. This is some amazing stuff from them. And what a way to combat version 1 when they knew that the aggressive play would come through, especially inside of that B main area. That's what we saw them be very attentive towards inside of that VOD. From a couple days ago as well. So Envy now onto map and match point, actually. Very, very important stuff here for them. And a round that is definitely doable.
Effie's a quick Aldrone pop over the top after he is going to get Nebula out on the inside of the defender spawn round into the B site here. Works his way through, does spot at least one player, possibly two getting bust out by him in that situation too, but either way, it's not actionable intel at this point. Stacking up here with two players is a fairly normal thing to do. It's when this utility comes out that the rotate is more than likely going to be called relatively quickly. Nebula covers Effie's position once again. They're going to start to work their way out here. Zelsis is trying to play aggressively, but it doesn't work out. FNS and Victor tearing up shop on the inside of B. 3 kills going their entire way here. leaving it just on Vanity and Penny to try to play this out here. Penny with a good find first against Mame. At least some hope here for V1, but already losing control of the site is not going to play into their favor too well. It all is down to Vanity now in the 1v3.
This is where we try to see him step up, and Vanity actually gets away with it. The Shrouded step first up onto Catwalk, but oh no, they seemingly know where he is. But Vanity, it was for info instead. Was anyone playing wine? Seemingly not, but he saw Caboose peek back through. Victor with a quick move over to window. And it's Victor's world that we're living in, folks, because Envy win this one off of the back of an extreme effort on Ascent.
So an interesting series overall, looking at the scoreboards between these three maps. A very, very close shave at the beginning on Haven for both teams, going 13-9. Nearly seeing a comeback for V1 in the late portions of that map, but ultimately seeing it go over towards Envy. V1 comes back with a storm on their second map, 13-3 in their favor. And then finally, once again, Envy takes over completely on Ascent and is able to completely shut down their opponents' takes and defenses, as we just saw there in the third and final map, pushing Envy forward further into the bracket, up to the semifinals now, I believe, and sending their opponents into the elimination bracket.
Yeah, fantastic series by both of these squads, and I think that Split is definitely just the awkward map out of all of these. It really just seems as though, not obviously that Envy can't play the map, but that they weren't prepared for versions version of that map. That's going to be the most awkward sentence I say all day, but yeah, that's truly what it is. V1's Split is just extremely aggressive, and Envy simply didn't have anything to shut that down. On Ascent, they had more room to breathe, and that's what we saw the big difference makers with some extremely aggressive plays from Envy. This definitely tells you why a lot of the analysts right now in NA are high on these guys.
Yeah, definitely the case, just seeming to have a constant read, especially on the defensive side, about everything their opponents were going to try and do. We can take a look at the stats here once again. We've had a complete flip in the situation here. Only frag wins coming out for version 1, 0 objective wins over the course of that series. To be fair, Envy didn't get that many either at only 3, but they take 10 overall rounds on fragging capability. Headshot percentage actually significant difference this time, and the damage once again shining through for Envy at 12.4k, a 4.4k difference compared to the 8k on V1. Let's take a look at some of the individual stats here, where we can clearly see the difference once again, especially looking at Victor right there, man. 2 players at 2.9. Victor at a 3.1 with a 409 ACS as well.
Guy's just an absolute monster. I mean, just looking the team up and down, it's insane what they were able to pull off. Mame, the true support for Envy inside of that Ascent, really not needed inside of the frag department. I mean, look at his combat score, 44. 44 combat score. He's literally the lowest combat score in the entire game.
Didn't go negative
the map. So some pretty cool stats, and that's why I just, oh man, I'm just loving this stuff. It's so great. I love what we saw from version 1. That last map obviously not showing the best and brightest of what they have to offer, but I'm sure they'll be back. They have some stuff to work on, and I think that Envy exposed a lot of holes inside of their plans.
Yeah, definitely still a bright future potentially ahead for V1. Remember, they're not out of the running just as of yet. We'll still be seeing them fight for survival in the lower bracket. In fact, I believe fighting just a little bit later on today. We'll look at confirmation of that in a moment here as we continue to break down the postgame and talk about these teams. Such a good match for V1. Unfortunately, just not able to bring the effort needed to close out there, especially on map 3. We can take a look at our comparison of our 2 highlight players that we were talking about in the pre-match. Penny specifically wanting to look at him going up against Victor, and unfortunately, things going very much in Victor's fashion now that we have the post-game results.
Yeah, it seems to be every single category. Yes, every category he bested Penny in, including deaths.
Except average kills.
Which is not something you would necessarily assume, right? When you're usually killing a lot of people, you'd assume you'd die more often, but apparently not if you're Victor. That run it back, he just continued to make a lot of influential plays with that ult, and I think that that's a big aspect as to why we saw him pull away inside of that death category especially.
It's actually interesting we see the consistent kills coming out a little bit more for Penny. It shows that in the past matchups, we've been seeing great results out of Penny, but I think you and I touched on it a couple times. We're really only there for like 1.5 maps today. Didn't really see much out of him, and some other players really need to step up to make up the difference, it seems. So hopefully going to see that improve as they get themselves into the lower bracket results. Speaking of which, we'll have the bracket on screen for you guys here in just a moment. In fact, I think we've got it ready for you right now. So let's take a look at where we're sitting at, see if we maybe have an update on our other games going on on the second stream as well. So we have an update. Cloud9 Blue did end up taking down Immortals. 2-1, which means we've got 100 Thieves versus Cloud9 Blue set up in the semifinals. At the same time, of course, we just witnessed Envy taking down version 1, 2-1 fashion there. And meanwhile, XSET and Built by Gamers are in the midst of their series, currently a 1-0 lead for XSET.
Wow, this is so interesting right now. Remember, guys, BBG being the team that knocked Sentinels out of this tournament, so that's quite the big deal. XSET being up one map right now. Whoever wins that will go on to face Envy, but this 100 Thieves versus C9 Blue matchup, I cannot wait for that one coming up later today. I mean, C9 Blue really impressing a lot of people this tourney.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of people calling them out recently, especially with the 10 situation unfolding there, but they're proving a lot of people wrong, already making it through the open qualifier and their first match unscathed here in the quarterfinals of the actual challengers bracket as well. So some great stuff more than likely going to be coming out from them as we continue to play out the bracket over the course of this weekend. For myself and Stokes, though, we are going to be closing out the day here, but the day is not done just as of yet. We have another matchup coming up, and I believe Doug and Lex are going to be your casters for that. So stick around, folks, and coming up in just a few minutes, we'll have that third and final match of the day here at VCT Challengers.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here, because this is just turning into a bit of a dog battle.
Like in groups always look.
I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it. He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.